Hello. Hello, ma'am. Am I audible? Hemlata, ma'am.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Prakash sir, is it audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, check. Prakash and Hemalata madam, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Clearly audible, sir. Clearly audible, sir.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
నమస్తే అండి.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్.
బాగానే కనిపిస్తుందండి ఇప్పుడు మీకు?
కనపడుతుంది సార్.
వాయిస్ కూడా క్లియర్ గా ఉందా?
క్లియర్ గా ఉంది సార్.
మీ వాయిస్ కూడా నాకు చాలా క్లియర్ గా ఉంది.
ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
తర్వాత షేరింగ్ ఒకసారి ట్రై చేస్తాను తర్వాత.
ఓకే,
ఒకసారి ట్రై చేద్దామండి షేరింగ్.
ఓకే సార్.
అంటే మళ్ళీ తర్వాత క్లోజ్ చేద్దాం, మళ్ళీ మీరు ముందు మీరు షేర్ చేయాలి కదా.
అవునవును సార్.
నాకు అలౌ చేస్తారన్నది షేరింగ్. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ చూస్తున్నాను నేను. ఎక్కడో రావాలి కదా షేర్ అని రావాలి కదా.
నేను చెప్తున్నాను సార్, మా ఫ్యాకల్టీకి చెప్తున్నాను. ప్రకాష్ సార్కు ఇచ్చారా హోస్ట్ ఆప్షన్? ఓకే సార్.
సార్ గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్. సార్ మీ బాటమ్ లో షేర్ స్క్రీన్ ఆప్షన్ ఉంటుంది సార్.
అదే చూస్తున్నాను నేను.
గ్రీన్ కలర్
లో వీడియో ఉంటున్నదా?
సార్ బాటమ్ గ్రీన్ షేర్ స్క్రీన్ అనే ఆప్షన్ ఉంది సార్. బాటమ్
ఇక్కడ కనిపించలేదు నాకు ఇంకా.
సార్ కర్సర్ ని బాటమ్ స్క్రీన్ అప్పుడు హైలైట్ అవుతాయి. పార్టిసిపెంట్స్, పోల్స్, చార్ట్ అని ఉంటుంది. దాని పక్కన స్క్రీన్ షేర్ ఉంటుంది.
చూస్తాను ఒకసారి. పాజ్, స్టాప్, రికార్డింగ్, రియాక్ట్, షేర్ స్క్రీన్ ఉందండి. ఇప్పుడు అది క్లిక్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు బాగానే కనిపిస్తుందండి. వెరీ క్లియర్ కదా. ఇప్పుడు దీని నుంచి మళ్ళీ అది ఫుల్ స్క్రీన్కి వెళ్ళింది. తర్వాత మళ్ళీ వెనక్కి వెళ్ళిపోవాలంటే షేరింగ్ స్టాప్ చేయాలంటే
స్టాప్ షేరింగ్ అని ఉంటుంది సార్ మీ పైన.
స్టాప్ షేర్ అని పైన ఉంది అక్కడ.
సార్ అది క్లిక్ చేస్తే అయిపోతుంది. సార్
ఓకే, బాగుందండి. దట్స్ ఫైన్. I see Sidhu Ram there.
Yes sir, just now I informed him.
He is also joining.
Yeah. Good afternoon sir, how are you sir?
Namaste Amar.
Namaste sir, namaste.
Sidhu, ఎలా ఉన్నారు?
బాగున్నాను సార్.
Very good.
Sir, bio introduction. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. We'll just wait for 5 minutes. At 2 o'clock sharp, we will start the session.
Please, that would be fine.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all the participants. Good afternoon, Professor V.S. Raju garu. And it's really my honor to introduce Professor V.S. Raju garu. He is having a vast experience in our academically, and he was the director of IIT Delhi during the period 1995 to 2000. He has also acted as a professor, head, and dean at IIT Madras. He was extensively involved in academic sponsor research and consultancy. He is also the chairman for Naval Research Board and Research Council (CRRI). He is member for several boards and committees with the technical education and research in the country. And his biggest achievement is the Federal Republic of Germany honored him with the Commander's Cross, the highest award which is given to a foreigner. And he has worked completed his extensive R&D work in the areas like liquefaction of saturated sands, behavior of vesicular laterites, pile founded in weak rocks like that. And he is currently running his own consultancy which benefited over 650 projects like power stations, fertilizers, petrochemical projects, port structures, dams, buildings, and extended foundation consult for about 100 gated community projects, and pile draft foundations have been adopted. Not only his academic excellence, he was also contributed many societal activities. Like from 2003 to 2007, he worked for an NGO as lead partner, and he is responsible for safe drinking water and livelihood for about 200 villages. And Professor V.S. Raju is the founder chairman of Bangarama Foundation Trust, which runs a preschool in his native village, Vempadu, West Godavari district. He is also founded previously the Professor V.S. Raju Family Charitable Trust, which focus on educating the bright poor children. It was a great to listen your academic excellence and your contributions to the society, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being the part of our faculty development program on trends in civil engineering. Thank you so much, sir. And now I request Professor V.S. Raju garu to continue with the session. Thank you, sir.
Namaste to all of you, and welcome to this interactive session.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste. And you may be wondering, it's supposed to be series of technical lectures. So I was just wondering whether I should give also a technical lecture, for example, on latest foundation concepts, or look at the motivational aspects of what we do as teachers. And we all have, of course, the potential. Some of you are already excellent teachers. I'm not doubting that. But, I thought that it is good for us to remind ourselves, the key aspects of focus, better performance, and excellence. So this is an interactive session, and I have requested the organizers to send the PPT to you in advance. And I hope some of
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. We are not able to listen you.
we all have issues pending, and then so it is in our mind. So to come out of that, just keep silence for a minute and then try to get focused onto this interaction. I'll keep the time. thank you for that. And this is an interactive session. And I've given a few slides in the beginning, encouraging you to fill it before the interactive session, or even after the session, or it periodically, once in a year or so. It's good to remind ourselves on these aspects. For example, point number 3, in your view, what is needed or needs to be done to be an excellent teacher? That is the interactive thing we want to do. Then I've said, what characteristics did you notice in your best teachers and in not so good teachers? I don't want to call anybody a bad teacher, but some are having some handicaps. Then if you see the next to then self-rating, then there are other issues. And then of course, once we rate ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, then wherever there is a gap, you will be able to focus there and then try to improve on that score. If we go to the next slide, what are our strengths and weaknesses? Attitude, concept of and perform as a teacher, as a member of the society, as a member of family, so many other duties we have. Then we have to constantly be improving ourselves. That is concept of self-renewal, because otherwise we tend to get tired and then get exhausted, and then to come out of that we have to do something to remain constantly fit and alert, both mentally and physically. That's why I said at the bottom, it is helpful to do this at regular intervals, self-assessment at regular intervals. This is very important. I want you to focus on this. This is an interactive session and not a lecture. We already talked about complete attention, that is focus. But more importantly, these are my perceptions or my views. And you have to find out yourself what works for you, because what works for one did not work for the others. Do not get overwhelmed by my background or my presentation. So this is only just to share my experiences with you, not to overwhelm you with my presentation. We are all equal in a broader sense, and I am one with you all. So there's no difference. We are all equal in this interaction. Obviously, I'm delighted to interact with you. What are the contents of this presentation? The first, I'll say, why teaching as a career? Why should we choose? Because we have several options. Some of us have become teachers by choice, some by circumstances, or some by compulsions, but still it's good to know why it is good to be a teacher. And my journey as a teacher and lessons for me, that is important. For me, the lessons. You have to find your own lessons out of this. And I briefly touch on the Indian challenges in technical education. And then finally, we talk about what is required for excellence, effectiveness. These are the, and I hope to give you enough time for discussion afterwards. So I'll try to finish the talk within an hour, and then we'll have minimum of 30 minutes for discussion. Why teaching as a career? The first one, the greatest gift one can give and receive is knowledge. I'm quoting from Swami Vivekananda. This is the greatest gift. There is nothing greater than either giving knowledge or receiving knowledge. In our tradition, it need not be Hindu tradition. Basically, I think in every tradition, but I know definitely in our tradition, it is the Hindu tradition. Mother, father, and teachers are equated to God. First we'll say Matrudevo Bhava, then Pitrudeva Bhava, then Acharya Deva Bhava. Now, that's a lot of responsibility on us as teachers when we are to be compared with, with God. I think teaching is empowering, enabling, and satisfying. More importantly, there is no one between the teacher and the student. You may be just a fresh lecturer, or you may be head of the department or the director of an institute. But when you are teaching in a class, between you and the students, there is nobody else. There is no hierarchy. So basically, it is a relationship between you, the teacher, and the students. Fourth one, generally the children of teachers do very well in education and life. That's also very important. No? After all, one of our goals as human beings is to make sure that our children get good education and then they also do well in life. What is well in life, of course, may vary from person to person. And then, one second, sorry. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. No, one second. Yeah. As a teacher, the fifth one, it is easy to follow ethics and values, which is very important to be happy. I mean, sometimes there will be lots of compulsions. For example, as an engineer, some of us know that our colleagues or classmates are in the department, and they have a lot of challenges when they try to follow principles of ethics and values. First, I want to briefly tell you, I don't read everything, but just highlights my journey as a teacher and lessons for me. So my early childhood, I was born in a very small village. Father was educated only up to class 5. In fact, he was very keen on studying further. My grandfather said he can't afford to send him to school because he has to work in the fields. So I've done elementary school in our village, then high school in a nearby village, and then
61 point ತಪ್ಪುಂಟು.
one can readily overcome the initial handicaps. After all, if you go to an elementary school sitting on the floor or small benches and then, without much facilities, then it is, to such an extent, it's a handicap. But most important for me to share with you is that my father, though he could not teach me because he studied only up to class 5, he used to sit with me in the early hours, mornings, 4:30, 5 o'clock, wake me up and sit with me. And then, because, when you are of that age, and then in the dark, and we used to have only kerosene lamps those days, no electricity. You are afraid as a kid, as a child. So he gave me the confidence and taught me how to focus. I feel even today, after nearly, I would say more than 70 years, I still remember this. And I think that made a huge difference. The message I want to give you is that probably as your children are growing up, it is very important how you spend quality time with them. And then that they will definitely remember for a very long time. Then I did my bachelor's from Andhra University and master's from Indian Institute of Science. Andhra University was quite a thing, from a small taluk town to the university. That was nice. But even master's at Indian Institute of Science was even much, much better, because that's a much renowned institution. Then I started my career as a lecturer in Banaras University. This is more an accident, not the choice. One of the friends told me that they have a faculty position vacant and they've advertised, why don't you apply? Then I have applied and then went for the interview, got the job and joined there. Then had an opportunity to go to Germany on a scholarship. Here I want to share with you that when I received the call for the interview, I was just wondering, what will they ask? They will not ask any technical questions, I knew, because the scholarship was open to all. Very little about Germany in those days. Then I thought I should say that I want to go and work with a particular professor. But how to find him? Because those days they were not publishing in English, German professors. But with great difficulty, I found name of one Professor Schulze from University of Aachen. So I remembered that exactly the same question was asked by the German gentleman sitting there, saying, "Why do you want to go to Germany?" Then I said, "I want to go and work with this professor." I could see the happiness in his face because he felt that there is somebody here who already focused and is trying to identify a person there. Then I knew that time I am going to get this scholarship. That was, in other words, the message I'm giving is for everything, whatever we do, we need to think ahead and prepare for it, prepare for the event. Then this was a 64 to 67 after 4 months of German language. I went to this University of Karlsruhe in Germany. Of course, finally I was not sent to Aachen because another student was already there. So they sent me to Karlsruhe, which was also a great gift, one of the greatest institutions of that type in the world. But here I want to share with you a very, very important experience. Nobody was speaking English those days at the university. Everybody was speaking German. I only had 4 months language course. And then, then after 6 months at the institute, they asked me to give a seminar on the topic of my possible research. That too in German. So how do you do that? I mean, very difficult. Even the topic was not very clear to me. So then what I did is, with great difficulty, I wrote something in English. And there was one Greek gentleman there who knew some English. And with his help, I translated my talk to German. And then the day of the seminar, I was pretty nervous. I was not sure of myself. And then I read that that presentation, because I was not able to speak freely at that time. Then it took me 1.5 hours to complete that. My professor, who is a very renowned person, later he became the German Minister for Science and Technology, a very respected professor in Germany. He simply said, "Mr. Raju, we give a seminar for 30 minutes. And he went away. So I was already knowing that my presentation was a disaster, obviously, because when you are doing a poor job, you know that you're doing a poor job. Then I was not having anybody, and then I went to my room and cried and cried. So finally, after 11 months, they have to take a decision whether my scholarship will be extended or not for a PhD. Otherwise, I have to get back to India. Initially, the scholarship is only for 1 year. This time I was very thorough, very clear of what I'm going to do, and then prepared my presentation in German, tried it myself several times, recording on a tape. Those days we had tape recorders. Of course, now you can record on your cell phone. So recorded it, and then requested the other doctoral students to hear me make a full presentation. Then I made my presentation in 29 minutes, 30 seconds. Then, of course, I knew that I was doing an excellent presentation. To you by just one sentence in the previous seminar transformed me from, I would say, caterpillar to butterfly. Then, of course, Then I came back to Benares, continued as a lecturer. Sometimes immediately. So though they promised a promotion as soon as I come back with PhD, those days PhDs were very rare, that too, PhD from abroad. There was a delay in my promotion. Then for some time I was quite worried, what is happening? But then I felt, there is so much work to be done, forget about promotion, continue to do good work, focus on your teaching as well as on your research or whatever you do. And that helped me in a way, because the delay motivated me to apply to IIT Madras, and then I shifted to IIT Madras. Here, what I wanted to say is, we don't know the destiny. Had I got the promotion in Benares in the university, I would have never left BHU. And BHU, whatever you might do there, is not the same as an IIT. So that was a great opportunity, IIT Madras. Then you do many things, and then I went back to Karlsruhe again as a Humboldt fellow, and then so on. You can read that later. And this is very important. Then I shifted from civil engineering to ocean engineering center, which was a new center. That time there was no ocean engineering in India at all. And very few universities in the world had ocean engineering. So there was nobody. So therefore, I was given the responsibility to build this center. So what we did was we took best people in their respective disciplines and requested them to change over to ocean engineering. So that enabled us to establish, building up the new ocean engineering center to a level best of its kind in this part of the world, Asia. So like that, opportunities will come and we have to make full use of them. Then we were so happy at the IIT Madras. I never thought I would leave IIT Madras for anything. But then suddenly I was invited. Those days you're not supposed to apply for a directorship of an IIT, so it's only by invitation. So I was invited to IIT Delhi. So then naturally I went how to go there, and then that was also a great experience to be heading an institution, be an academic and administrative head. See, a lot of things, a lot of experiences in a very new situation. And then one experience I want to share with you is that IIT Madras is very, very green. It was a part of the government Madras residence. All grown-up trees. Some of you must have seen it. But Delhi, the concept was different. They had more lawns and very few trees. So we said, why don't we make the campus green? And I asked a small team to see that they plant 1,000 trees a year. So first year they planted 2,200 trees. I said, this is great. So let us make this as a norm. And in my 5-year term at IIT Delhi, 11,000 trees were planted. So if you go there now, you see the whole campus so much greener. This may not apply to all of you, but in the IIT system, basically it is like this. A faculty member is supposed to spend 1/3 of the time in teaching, 1/3 in research, and 1/3 in consultancy or working with the industry or continuing education programs. So that was a great experience in IIT Madras. And I mean, the experience started in Germany. The German institutions are very well known for working with the industry. So it was a real opportunity to work and learn. That is most important. So, if you really want to get involved with some real life projects, in the beginning, you have to learn a lot. You have to be open-minded, and you have to observe and then interact with people free sometimes. And then once you gain the experience, then once you do some of the projects successfully, then you will get. This is very important because after all, engineering is an applied science. So when we are as a teacher, when we give real life examples to the students, that is much more interesting than quoting from standard textbooks or some other publications. So I've put here together Indian challenges in technical education. First of all, 21st century challenges, all of you know, population explosion, depleting natural resources, environment is an issue, widening inequalities in wealth and access to resources, you know, rich and poor, the gap is widening, so many tensions, youth unemployment, high impact of technology. There's a demand for mass education, then globalization. These are all the challenges. And in India, in addition, we have some crucial issues. We have still, unfortunately, a lot of population below poverty line. That is very sad even today. 41% of the world poor are in India. But we should be optimistic. We are making rapid progress in the last 2 decades. There's a reduction in number of poor people. Economy was growing. This is a little out of date. The figure I have put here, 212, 213, it need to be updated. Improvements in infrastructure, huge improvement in infrastructure. For example, cell phones, if you take, it's not 850 million anymore. I think it's more than 1 billion cell phones now. People have more than 1 billion cell phones. Yeah. When I was a member of Telecom Regulatory Authority in year 2000, that time there were so few cell phones. One phone call would cost something like 16 rupees. In today terms, it would equal to about 50 rupees a call. Now you see, it's almost free now. Calls are free, online is free. This is all technology. So we have a very good chance to catch up with the developed world. I think we are catching up. I see a lot of improvement during the last 5, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, so on. So engineers have a crucial role to play. The opportunities for good engineers are many in the country and globally also. You know, if you see the globe now, it's absolutely stunning. You know, if you take even US, Microsoft CEO is from Hyderabad, you know, and Google CEO is from Tamil Nadu, but a graduate of IIT Kharagpur, like that, so many people. So there is a demand for people all over the world, and I'm sure all of you, many of you have friends and classmates and family members who are abroad all over the world. I want you to focus on the right half of this slide. See, traditional attributes we know what is required, but this is very important. Additional attributes, learning to learn, that is important because the subjects are changing so fast. What you learned in IT maybe 4 years back may not be any more relevant. But even in engineering, there are a lot of changes happening, including civil engineering. A lot of new things are coming, new technologies. And one should have a strong desire for lifelong learning. You know, this is very, very critical. Ability to work in a team, exposure to commercial disciplines. We should understand how the finances work. Creativity and innovation, integrative skills, international outlook, ability to deploy IT, ability to work at interfaces between traditional disciplines, and commitment to sustainable development. All these things we have to inculcate in ourselves first as teachers and pass this on to our students. That is the only way. And also it is very important. That's why wherever I go, I encourage people, institutions, to go for campus living by the students and faculty, because that is one of the greatest assets of IIT system, all campus living. Actually, a lot of very successful IIT students told me that 50% of their learning was in the classroom and 50% was outside the classroom. You know, that is very, very crucial. Wherever possible, you should all encourage this campus living. Attitudes. What is positive attitude? It includes the broader vision of common good. It's all very clear. I don't need to explain that much. A spirit of service, human values, professional ethics, honesty, and integrity. Positive attitude is most important for success. This is very crucial. Various studies have shown that attitude contributes to 85% of success. Domain knowledge or subject knowledge to only 15%. So if you look back, especially if I look back and then see my classmates and many other people who have come across, and then see how they have progressed in their careers, those with the positive attitudes and then as we have defined above, they have done much, much better than those who are also toppers and academically very bright. That is also important. But along with that, academics attitude is very important. This is also very, very critical. Focus on what is being done at that moment. That in the I think people say live in the present moment. You know, that is the take care of the present and future will take care of itself. So we mostly tend to worry about the past and also worry about the future. But that doesn't help. The present moment awareness and present moment taking care is very, very critical. Be a service center and not a power center. You know, this is also very clear, especially as you grow in your profession. You know, you must always look at people and then say, how can I be? How can I help you? How can I be of service to you? And even if you have to order somebody, do it in a nice way. Could you? There is a difference, no? If you tell your junior people, say, could you please do it for me? That's one way of asking. The other way, you order and say, do it. There's a huge difference. So we would also like to be told in a polite way. So similarly, we should be very polite to other people. Have a national outlook. Very rarely we look at the Constitution of India. Of course, our media goes on saying the fundamental duty, rights and all that, but there is also fundamental duties which are equally important. I wish that our media focuses more on fundamental duties than fundamental rights. They should focus on both. We have to make sure that we should to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation, that is important here, constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. So this is the important, and also to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. Similarly, also, we all graduated from different institutions, and at the convocation, you also take an oath. And here I took it from the IIT Madras graduation ceremony, where they take the oath. We'll take an oath saying that we'll be scrupulously honest and we'll use our knowledge in the service of our motherland and humanity. See, whether we believe in it or not, this is the oath we take. Similar oaths we also take at the time of marriage, how we promise to take care of each other. Somebody might jocularly say that, no, it was all in Sanskrit, I didn't understand. But it doesn't mean that we don't have the responsibility to take care of the oath we have taken. We have to learn from others and look at the human values. It's all known, the good values: truth, righteousness, peace, love, non-violence. Conscience controls. Conscience is the inner sense of right and wrong. That will lead to spiritual progress and happiness. That will give us peace and serenity. Bad values, they're opposite. No? Anger, greed, lust, jealousy, violence. Then senses control. That will lead to spiritual decline, sadness, and depression. You know, for example, if you're angry with someone, it will not do any harm to that particular person. It will harm us. The anger will burn us from inside. So same thing with all other bad values. I'm sure all of you know who Swami Vivekananda is. But I don't know how many of you have read some of his writings. That his writings have greatly impacted me, I must say. It was just a chance that one day I was very tired at home and came from the office and I was just lying down on bed. And our daughter, who was taking a course, who was studying in IIT Madras, she took a course on Indian spirituality as a part of her course. And then the teacher gave commentary on the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Rangadananda, who was later the president of Ramakrishna Mission. That commentary was so nice. I liked it so much. Then I started carrying those cassettes everywhere, wherever I go. I was traveling all over the place and went on hearing them. And then I got interested in writings of Swami Vivekananda. So as some of you might know that there are 8 volumes. Actually, Swamiji never wrote anything. He only spoke. And somebody took it in shorthand in those days. And afterwards it was published in book form, 8 volumes. So I felt like reading them. But how do you read when you're already so busy? There you have to make a planning. Then I said, I will read every day for 20 minutes, every morning. That means get up 20 minutes, then we sleep 20 minutes less, and read every day 20 minutes. And then I completed all the 8 volumes in 2 years. So that means what I'm saying is, when you are having so many things to do, you can always figure out a way of achieving what you want. So this is a little book which I have at least read at least 25 times or 30 times. Each time it gives me a different meaning. And then, there are these chapters, karma in its effect on character. Our actions will decide our character. This is also very, very crucial. Each is great in his own place. Don't look down on anyone. Everybody is important. Say, for example, one of the things that was very important for me was that all the places are clean. So if you want your toilets to be clean, the person who cleans the toilets is important. It's as important as the head of the institution, because each has a different role. So there's no need to look down upon anybody. The secret of work, how do you work, what is duty, all these things are explained. This is also very important. We help ourselves, not the world. That means we always saying, no, I did this, I did that, and so on and so forth. No, we say, but then I didn't get back for what I did, like that. That's not so. When we do good things and we do nice things, we are helping ourselves. And don't attach to the results of your actions. So do act. Freedom, ideal of karma yoga, all that is explained here. Now the last part, continuous self-improvement. How do we do that? How do we improve ourselves continuously? There are many ways of achieving this. And one example, one book I liked very much is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I hope some of you have read this. It is somewhat old, but still very relevant. And then you also have it on, I think, YouTube. You can hear all these talks right now, I'm sure. Earlier, we used to buy the cassettes and then hear them by Stephen Covey. He has nicely defined the habit. Habit is a combination of knowledge, what to do, skill, how to do, and attitude, wanting to do. Unless you have all the 3, it will not become a habit. What are these 7 habits? Be proactive. Take responsibility for yourself. We generally tend to blame others. If I don't do something, then I'll say, no, I didn't do it because of this or that person or whatever. Don't do that. We are responsible for ourselves. So begin with the end in mind. What is it that we want to achieve at the end? So that means look at life in its totality. And this is called the leadership quality. We are able to lead with the end in mind. Prioritize. That means first things first. These lead to independence or mastery of self. These 3 habits. I want to spend a little time on this. First things first. Urgent and important. one quadrant. Next quadrant is important but not urgent. Third quadrant, urgent but not important. Fourth, not important, not urgent. Let us try to look at this, what this is. For example, as a teacher, for us to take a class is very urgent and important. We should not miss a class. We have to take a class. Similarly, if you are, let us say, in an administrative position, and if you are, say, you're a head of the department, and then if your director or somebody calls you, then it's urgent and obviously it is important. Next one, important but not urgent. That is, for example, there are so many things, but one example I want to take is that you have to prepare for your class. That is very critical. So if for preparation, of course, you can prepare the weekend or the vacation before, or so many options we'll have. It's important, but not as urgent as taking a class. That is what is meant. Third one is urgent, but not important. The typical thing is that constant phone calls. People will call you and then want to chat with you or whatever it is. And when the phone is ringing, it is urgent. You have to attend to that. But it may not be important. It's purely waste of time. In fact, I remember that when I was at Benares in university, one of the administrative persons used to have it on his table facing the visitor. And it reads, if you don't have anything to do, please don't do it here. I repeat it again. If you don't have anything to do, he's telling the visitor, if you don't have anything to do, please don't do it here. That means don't waste my time here. That's what. Not important, not urgent. It's up to you how you want to organize that. To save my time, for example, I don't watch any TV news, any discussions on the TV or anything. So that saves me a lot of time. Even the newspaper, I don't read till in the afternoon, because, if you take the front page, all negative news, some terror, something, some farmers agitation, everything. See, in IIT Madras, once we invited the editor of Indian Express to give a talk. And then before the talk, we used to have a cup of tea, senior people with the visitor. And I showed him the Indian Express newspaper and said, please see this paper on the headlines, first page, all negative. Why is it so? He thought about it and is it really so? Yes. It is like this. I think this is what people want to read. So what the newspaper is thinking is that we all want to read negative news. So they're putting negative news on the front page. And the media, the TV also thinks that we only want to hear all bad things, and those they broadcast that. And all good things in the paper are somewhere in a small footnote somewhere inside. So that is the unfortunate part. So that is why we have to decide what is not important and what is not urgent, and then prioritize on the important but not urgent. I would put that as first priority. Urgent and important on par, but this you should learn how to avoid that. These people wasting your time either through their physical presence or through phone calls or messages or WhatsApp messages. So many messages will come. And this you should put in the category where you don't want to really give any time for that. Think win-win. Very critical. We are all working in teams, either in the institution or in the family or siblings or whatever it is. Everybody should win. All should gain and none should lose. That is the important thing. Then be a good listener. This is also very important. Very often during discussions, we get excited and then we want to speak first without really understanding what the other person wants to say. So that is here I want to narrate one thing, be a good listener thing. Mr. Rajat Gupta, some of you might have heard his name. he was the first Indian who to become a CEO of McKinsey, which is a world company. He was the first Indian to get into that sort of a position. So I was talking to somebody in McKinsey, and then they said, yes, we all knew that Rajat Gupta will become the CEO because he's a very good listener. He will hear first and then only respond. So that is, especially as you get to senior positions, this is more and more important. Synergize, that means you have to see whole is greater than the parts. That means 1 + 1, you should make it greater than 2. Of course, there is an old joke. Hopefully, this is not true anymore. Then it says that 1 Indian is equal to 10 Japanese. Because we as Indians, we know everything. We have a view on everything. We know every subject. We talk, and all that. But 2 Indians are 0. Because one is trying to pull the other. They will not let the other person progress. That's, of course, a joke. But that's not what the synergy means. The synergy here is that you work as a team and produce more. The last one, the sharpen the saw. To cut a tree, it is most important to spend time on sharpening the saw first, instead of struggling with a blunt one. Spending more energy and time or even failing, obviously. That is clear, no? That you have to use the right tool. And what is the tool here? We are ourselves are the tool. So we have to sharpen ourselves all the time. And he gives 4 dimensions. The physical dimension, that is exercise, nutrition, stress management. So that is the physical dimension. Mental, reading or hearing also these days, visualizing, planning, writing, putting things together, that is the mental dimension. The social dimension is service, how to help others within the organization, within the extended family, or within the neighborhood. Show empathy, when somebody is in difficulty, or, they have an issue, hear them out. Synergy, we talked about it. Intrinsic security. Then, of course, spiritual. It's all very personal. That is value clarification and commitment, study, meditation. This is all. Each one of you have to decide which way you want to go. This is a very important statement from Emerson. That which we persist in doing becomes easier, not that the nature of the task has changed, but our ability to do has increased. Very simple thing. If I'm not exercising, then I'll start walking. Maybe first day I can only walk for 1 kilometer, and then after a couple of weeks, it will become 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Same with the mental dimension also. Practice. Self-confidence comes from a positive attitude, even in adverse situations. For example, there is a corona around, there is not much we can do about it. Then say, be positive. What is the things that we can take advantage of it, and or spend more time with family, or have more time working from home? It's so many other things. Self-confident people assume responsibility for the mistakes and share credit with their team members. If there is a mistake, we have to take responsibility for that. We accept it. And when there is a success, then you have to share it with the other team members. They're able to distinguish between what is in the control and what is not. Obviously, what is not in our control, we cannot do anything. So whatever is in our control, we should do it to the best of our ability. They do not waste their energies on events that are outside their control, and hence they take setbacks in their stride. Very critical. Remember, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Whatever position you have, wherever you are, whatever is the situation, don't feel inferior. That is a negative feeling, inferior. Actually, I tell people, the best way not to feel inferior is not to feel superior. Now, if you are in a good position, if you start feeling superior, there will be somebody above you. Then you have to feel inferior in front of the other person. But if you are not feeling superior with other people who are less advantaged, then it's the same for you. In whichever position you are fine. This is also a very powerful statement from Mahatma Gandhi. No one can take away your self-respect unless you give it to them. So there is no need to feel diffident or feel down. This I've read somewhere and I have it I used to have it in my office room in IIT Madras. 6 words: I admit I made a mistake. The mistake won't be repeated. That means if you make a mistake, better to accept it and forget about it. Then 4 words: what is your opinion? Always take opinion from others and ask people, if you please do this. Then always thank people for what they do for you. The most important 1 word is we, the team, whether it is in the office or in family or everywhere, it's the team. The least important 1 word is I. On the other hand, I is the ego. So automatically we tend to focus on self, I, and forgetting the other things. What does it take to become an excellent teacher? And I don't want to go through all this. You can read it. That's all very clear. This is interesting. Don't confuse comfort with happiness and wealth with success. Don't confuse comfort with happiness and wealth with success. So you can have comfort and still be unhappy, and then you can be very wealthy and still be not very happy. Never swap your integrity for money, power, or fame. That's another. Yes. Here we'll spend some time, next 10 minutes. Important for teachers: be proud to be a teacher. You're fine. Our classmate may be earning several times more than what we have or other people. That doesn't matter. You're a teacher. Proud in a positive sense, not in a negative sense. Commit yourself to do whatever it takes to be or to become excellent. It is hard work, obviously, preparation. But you can make it enjoyable, then work becomes worship. If you are working hard and if you're enjoying it, it's not hard. It's basically enjoyment. Recognize best way to learn is to teach. While teaching, you're also learning, also from students. That is always keep yourself open to learn from everybody, including students. I always advise young faculty, first focus on your teaching, follow it up with research, interaction with practice, because basically we are teachers, so teaching should always get the priority. You need a lot of exposure to practice before you can become a consultant. I already talked about that. For new faculty, the above are only first steps, very important steps, as even a 1,000-kilometer journey starts with the first step. Now here I just want to share with you when I started my career as a teacher. It so happened that I finished my education very early. I was very young. I was actually only 20 years when I started as a lecturer at Banaras University. And I was asked to teach the final year students, even though I had a master's. And some of the students were as old as me or even older than me. And, those days we had a very famous movie by Raj Kapoor. I mean, it must be great grandfather of one of these present Kapoors. I don't see many movies these days, so I don't know them. So there used to be a very famous saying, Mera naam Raju hai. So whenever I turn to the board, my students will sing, that song. So I was very nervous. Then I realized, that unless I get away from the routine of chit-chatting and drinking tea with the colleagues and, spending time, unless I focus on my teaching and prepare for the classes well, I will not get respect. So that helped me, to get over the initial hesitancy as a teacher, and then get back to. Then get feedback from the students. Command of the English language is a must, because some of you, including me, we went to Telugu medium and then local schools, and then getting the command of the language becomes very important. Be kind but firm with the students, because they will always have some difficulties, issues. You have to be kind to them, but firm. Act always in their best interest. And finally, you have to find out yourself as to what works for you. Be a service center and not a power center. I already said this. Because we talked about it, and then I just want to share with you that how I try to keep myself fit. I just completed 80. So I'm quite grateful and happy that even at this age, I'm able to think through, and I feel as if there is no change in my thinking capacity during the last 15, 20 years. We'll see how long it will continue. First thing, I get up in the morning before 5, then do some sort of a meditation. These days, I'm doing Isha Kriya. I don't know how many of you know that. That is Jaggi Vasudev's, they have a 12-minute program called Isha Kriya. Then go for a 3-kilometer walk. Come back and do some upper body exercises. Then the day is done, over. And in the evening, mostly I do Isha Kriya once again, another 12 minutes, and spend another hour doing some yogic exercises, breathing and some asanas and things like that. So that seems to work. Of course, still, I think I have more to learn. Actually, our saying is that you have to learn till you breathe your last. That means even shortly before leaving this body, still there is so much to be learned. So we have to be open for learning continuously. Then, of course, this list of recommended books I've gone through all of them. So then after going through them only, I'm recommending to you. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we already talked about it. Ramayana by Dr. Rajagopalachari, outstanding writer. Not a very thick book, but beautifully explained the story of Ramayana. And same author, Mahabharata, Rajagopalachari. Of course, all this before this TVs came, no? Mahabharata on TV and then Ramayana on the TV. Karma Yoga, I already talked about it, Swami Vivekananda. This very little book, but as I said, it's not so much what is written there, it is so much how you understand it and imbibe it. And there's a nice book, The Art of Living, William Hart. Practicing the Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, like that. And all of it, I'm sure, is also on audio right now. Now YouTube, replace audio. I think now I have to replace it with YouTube, the 7 Habits. Lectures of Swami Vivekananda on tape, now YouTube. The Great Course series, the Great Courses series, you can access them and then study them. Then the karma and its effect on character, we already talked about it. Meditation. Vipassana, I don't know, some of you might have done that. I hesitated for a long time to do this because it's a 10-day course, and then you have to observe very strict discipline. In Delhi, after a lot of hesitation, I finally found 10 days and then did this course. I found it very helpful. So whenever, this is nothing but you sit quiet and start observing your breath as you are breathing in and breathing out. And in the process, the breathing in, breathing out becomes slower, and then your mind gets calmer and calmer. Of course, there's a big center in Hyderabad. This is Vipassana Center. And Brahma Kumaris all, you know, I'm sure some of you had Shivani on the YouTube. Ramakrishna Mission, of course, very well known. Chinmaya Mission, so many things. Ramchandra Mission, many others. Maybe one more thing before we conclude, I want to say is that earlier I said, one of the advantage of being a teacher is your children do well. I was an young assistant professor at IIT Madras, and then once I visited a senior faculty, Professor Ramasastri, professor of physics, and all his 3 sons got into IIT through JEE. They studied in IIT Madras, and daughter studied medicine in a government medical college. I told him, sir, how did you manage? How did you manage that all your 4 children are so good in education? Very, very simple. Be sincere and do hard work and do a good job of what you're supposed to do. And let your children know that you're working hard and you're doing a good job of what you're supposed to do. That's it. You don't have to tell them anything. And they will find their own way to be successful. So that way we are also fortunate that we all our 3 children studied in IIT Madras. So like that, you have to keep observing how people have achieved success, and then it's not really that difficult if you pay attention to that. May all beings be happy. That's our most famous saying. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Thank you. It is normally, if it is a regular talk, then I will say, why not we all sing Jana Gana Mana together? But today it's not required. It is an online. So I think I've been able to keep to my 1 hour. Now it is open for discussion. It is much easier, of course, to discuss in a physical environment, but we'll try. I think somebody from the organizers should help me to pick those questions, and then I'll try to answer that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now the session is open for the question and answers. If any question, you can write and you can type in the chat box.
Participants, please ask your queries if you have any. You can type in your chat box also if you are unable to.
In a lighter vein, I always say that if there are not many questions, it means either you have understood everything or understood nothing. So hopefully you have understood everything. Yeah, please go ahead.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
I'm Hussein. It's a beautiful lecture, sir, what you have given. And, really, you have brought out the important aspects of teaching and the attributes and all. But as you know, sir, now there is intrusion of artificial intelligence in every sphere, cloud computing, and the all sorts of all aspects of the artificial intelligence, it is coming.
I think your mic is off. Yeah. Please continue.
Hussain sir, your voice is not audible. Maybe internet problem, sir. We'll come back to you once you
You
get.
can also comment. It need not necessarily be a question. Feel free to comment also. Nothing wrong in commenting.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I am Dr. Trimurthy Naidu. My question, sir. Yeah. I worked as I worked as executive engineer in department government of AP. I worked as a consultant. I have done teaching also. So as a civil engineer, I am basically a civil engineer. So out of these three things, in a team, somebody performs, somebody doesn't perform, doesn't work. In industry, it will run. Similarly, in a department also, some of the people work and perform, some of the people won't perform. Okay, done. But in teaching, the teacher or the professor has to perform every day in every class. This is the toughest profession and a difficult profession. But in teaching, they are very low paid when compared to the other fields. How you analyze this, sir? They are less
Yeah.
paid.
Yes. I think
They have to work hard. Teachers, professors are working in academic. Every day they have to work. Every session, every class they have to perform. Yeah. But they are less paid, low paid. Yes, sir. How you analyze it?
Yes, actually, I think I've slightly indicated that in my talk. What really happens is there are what is known as market forces.
Okay.
So in government institutions, for example, of course, fortunately for me, that was not an issue. I never thought so much about it. But generally what happens is the salaries are controlled by what the secretary to the government has. For example, they say director of an IIT should get something similar to, I think right now it is same as the secretary to the government of India. Earlier it was just one step lower. But that is true. So even in the US it is like that. Even in Europe it is like that. Industry always pays much more.
Yes.
So having made a choice to be a teacher, and mostly I think we earn enough for a decent living. Only problem comes in right now is that earlier we were all studying. All our children went to central school and free education in school education. Nowadays nobody wants to send children to a government school, and so private schools are expensive. That is true. As teachers, it is difficult for us to send our children to private schools. And similarly, if they get into government institutions for higher education, then no issue. But if not, then it's also very expensive. That I agree with you. But my feeling is that even today, the teachers' children, their chances of getting into good government institutions is much higher than if you are in the industry or somewhere else. And and also if you see the success ratio of teachers' children is much higher than people who are in the industry or business or whatever it is. So that way, I think that is an advantage we have. So that partly compensate the less salary that we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Basically, I am a teacher. My father is a teacher, sir. And basically,
that's right.
My father is a teacher. So I graduated from JNTU Canada, JNTU Hyderabad post-graduation MTech Civil, and I have done my doctorate at JNTU Hyderabad because basically up to intermediate level, my father is a school teacher. So I was given better education. Yeah, that is also true. So for teachers, it is being compensated like that.
Right.
Yeah, in my
Actually,
case,
if I compare my contemporaries in the IIT system, most faculty children, they have done exceptionally well in getting into medical colleges or IITs or higher institutions or go abroad or whatever. So I think that because the ambient in which they grow, that's very critical.
yes.
Sir, my connection was disconnected, sir, actually.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I have asked one question, sir. Now because of the NIRF ranking, there is so much of thrust on research and consultancy and other than teaching, sir, actually. So we are under tremendous pressure to give research outputs, consultancy outputs and all. So consequently, and also it has become online. So the teaching time required, particularly for the youngsters, I'm telling. So teaching the time that is required to allocate is getting reduced, sir, actually. So please, will you please comment on this here, because because the NIRF ranking is also very important. So they have fixed targets. Okay, Scopus index, every semester one Scopus index in our college, Scopus index, and the Psi index for the entire year. So our focus is now directed towards more on the time available for the teaching, the time to improve your teaching and all. So naturally, it is getting reduced. So will you please comment?
Actually, I would put it this way: no matter what the pressure is, I think it's our basic duty as a teacher. I mean, because we call ourselves as teachers, right? So we cannot neglect teaching. I think that is not acceptable. But I think what we can also do is there could be some optimization. No, then how do we see? It's teaching only takes some hours, but then there is also some more time available, and then that we have to prioritize and then do other things also, because without some amount of research also these days teaching itself cannot be updated, because the concepts are changing, and you also talked about artificial intelligence and things, and then naturally we have to learn all that. And then some amount of practical approach is also important. So it's a balancing act. Of course, I always recognize this. Things are changing. I accept that. When we were teachers, or as throughout our careers, most of our spouses are not working. I'm not talking about men, not women, those days. So therefore, they had the time to take care of the kids and the home and the school and all that. I never took any of the 3 children to school, or even once. So they were taking care. But that is not the case now, because most of the spouses for young faculty are working. So you have to have a different strategy. You have to balance it slightly differently. So, see, one of the things to gain time, one of the things I did was that what others can do, I will never do it myself. So I will always focus on things what others are not in a position to do. So that way you are able to really add value. So similarly, we have to figure out how we can delegate certain things, not necessarily in the college, at home also. You have a right servant, or you take care of them, and things like that. And then it is true. Times are changing. What was true to my father's generation was not true to my generation. And naturally, what is true for my children's generation and what is true for my grandchildren, they're all different. They're not the same. So constantly the world is changing. So within the broad framework of the basic principles of honesty and then hard work and dedication and sense of service, and within that framework, each one of you have to figure out how to handle the given situation. But just to conclude on this, but I would say that because of other pressures, if we do badly as a teacher, that is not a good thing. because if you are not doing a good job, then you know that you are not doing a good job, and in the long run, that will hurt you. See, the ranks also, what can we do about the ranks? There I'll always remember this Bhagavad Gita quote, Karmanyadhikaraste. So you only have the right to act. You do your best and accept whatever rank you get. You know, I'm happy and proud to have been associated with IIT Madras in the All India ranking. IIT Madras is coming first during the last 4 or 5 years. But then, you know, if somebody is not getting first rank and only fourth, let's say Delhi or Bombay, second or third, whatever it is, there's no point in there saying, why is it that we are not getting first rank? Actually, in one of the introductory classes, I mean, you know, that is when students come to I was at IIT Gandhinagar. So Sudhir Jain, the director of IIT Gandhinagar, he was jocularly saying, after JEE exam, nobody is happy. First ranker may not be happy saying that, no, my last year first ranker get more marks than me. Then second ranker is, of course, unhappy, he didn't get the first rank. And then, you know, like that, it can go on. No? So similarly, this NIRF rankings also, we should do our best and then accept whatever rank comes. But we have to constantly strive to improve our ranking. That is the point.
Thank you, sir.
Any other queries from participants?
Hello, sir. Namaste, sir. This is Siddharamlu, sir.
Hello, Siddhu.
Happy to see you, sir, on the screen.
Same
Sir,
here.
I read that Karma Yoga book which you have presented. So in that there are 7 chapters. From that 7 chapters, we can learn or we can explore the importance of positive attitude, which will useful to impact on both mindset and the behavior of a person, as well as it is useful to face the challenges of each and every individual who seeks to aspire to live and fulfill them in our daily lives. So that book, it has changed my views after reading all those chapters, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for presenting that Karma Yoga book. Thanks a lot, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes,
No,
thank you.
actually, what really happens is, see, why I focused on, because I could have easily given you any technical talk. That's not an issue. But and also a lot of it also you can download from the net. And if some of you want any particular aspect on geotechnical engineering, you can send a mail to me. I am sure that my mail is accessible to you. And then I will immediately send you those presentations. But what I found is that everything is in the body and the mind. So unless we keep our body and the mind in good shape, then it's very difficult to comprehend anything, whatever it is. So therefore, it is very, very important that we will, I mean, you know, focus on these attitudes, whatever we have discussed, and whatever other people have said, like, you know, this Karma Yoga book or whatever it is. It won't happen with one with one talk or one reading. As I told you, the Karma Yoga book I must have read at least 25 to 30 times, and each time I get a different meaning. So once you are in that frame of mind, things become pretty easy. You know, you have to. It is so simple to really figure out the way. If you really sit down and think and put down and prioritize. Otherwise, you'll be simply sucked into things, and then at the end of the day, the time is wasted. You know, and then that becomes a habit, of course. Any other comment or suggestions?
I think any other queries, sir, from participants? Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session and also adding your personal life experiences too. Thank you very much for accepting our invitations and being on this. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Namaste and all the best. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. And I request all the participants to join this tomorrow session at 2 o'clock before 5 minutes with the same link. Thank you, everyone.